Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's live stream, TubeBuddy live stream. My name is Dusty Porter, and as you can probably already tell, I am joined today by another TubeBuddy, another famous TubeBuddy individual, ambassador. Andrew is joining us. Andrew Can, how are you today, sir? Oh man, you would think someone would have brought you on. If someone can give me like a smiley face or a thumbs up in chat if you guys can hear us okay. I know you can see us okay. I'm looking at us here on screen. Everything's looking like everything is looking good, but especially now that Andrew's on here, looking even better. But I want to make sure that you guys can hear us okay. It says you can't hear Andrew. Okay, that's what I was worried about. I was concerned about that. So I will go in here into OBS and I will try to fix that. Oh, can hear now. You can. There's a no on Andrew. Okay, so we're oh man, there's a no on Andrew. Okay, all right, let's see here. Let's try this guy. Let's do this testing. All right, let's see here. Oh, I know what it was. Oh no. Listen, this is a very, very bad mistake on my part. I do apologize for that, everyone. Let me go right in here. Fix it one more time. Go ahead and do that. All right, Andrew, go ahead and say something for me.
All right, well, hopefully this
there
works.
We go. There we go. Now we're good. We're good now. We're good now.
Crafting TM, it was not my mic.
So Andrew, if you guys can hear Andrew now, which you should hear in a few seconds. I know the chat is behind. My dog's going crazy. There must be somebody at the door. Everything's going haywire at the moment. But we do appreciate everyone coming out today. I really appreciate it. Yep. We're getting yeps from everyone. That is what I like to hear. Hopefully you guys, like I said, everything's going fine. I'm not quite sure why my dog is going nuts right now, but we see everyone.
Just hyped for the stream.
He's hyped for the stream. That's right. That's right. So we thought it would be a really cool idea to bring Andrew on today to actually chat about VidCon, what happened at VidCon, what we learned, different things like that. And it'll also give us another person to bounce ideas off of. And so, that's one of the things that, I love doing. I love collaborating with people. Somebody said to tie that dog. I don't think I can do that at the moment. My wife's out there, so I'm hoping that I can send her a text right now and she can handle that quite quickly. But so wonderful seeing everyone in here, and I'm just super excited to be back on the TubeBuddy stream, as I am every time I get to do it every single month. So, Andrew, I want to ask you the first question. I want to ask you about is, as I'm texting my wife, is I want to ask you. What was the most fun thing that you got to do or experience at VidCon?
I would have to say genuinely was just getting to meet all of the creators that use TubeBuddy. Like 2 years ago at VidCon, no one really knew what we were to the level they did this year. So going from 2 years ago, which was the first time TubeBuddy as a team went to VidCon where no one recognized or knew really what we were, to this year, watching all the experts get stopped in the hall, having crowds around the booth. There's something about that that is irreplaceable, and seeing the community we've been able to foster, like seeing people like Lily Tree in the chat, Sackboy D, just recognizable names, is just a great time, and just something that is probably the most fun about it.
So you got to see like some of the people that are frequent, like in all of these chats, that when I stream or Nick or Brian or Owen or any of these guys stream, you're actually getting to put kind of like faces with usernames on YouTube, which is pretty cool.
Absolutely, because like there's people like Cutting the Caboose, who I know has been around all of us, and there was Professor Nez, and it's just, again, meeting these people, seeing the impact, and it's the best thing. And the networking is also great.
Yeah, so let's talk about networking for a minute. Like, what do you think, like, the benefits of a conference as far as networking? Like, I'm sure you thought of so many collaborations that you could do while you were there, and I know I saw your social media. You were trying to knock as many of those out as you could. You killed video, man. You were just on fire. You were always recording new video. You were doing so much fun stuff at TubeBuddy, and so trying to balance that as a creator, like, how did you do that, and what did you find to be kind of some of the better things coming out of TubeBuddy for yourself as a creator?
So one thing I have to first say is I had a great team around me, not only the TubeBuddy team, but a group of friends that were willing to help me out as well. And I think a lot of people, when you're going to these events, if you really want to optimize the networking, you really need to focus on what am I here to get out of this event? Do I want to go to panels? Do I really want to meet other creators? Am I trying to make brand deals with some of the booths? Because some people try to do all three in once and aren't really successful at any of the three. And then they're like, man, why did none of this work? And I'm like, well, you're so spread out you'd never had a chance to make one thing work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered from, I was kind of a fly on the wall. I kind of caught up with everything you guys did through Facebook, through social media. One of my favorite parts about the whole process, and I didn't even get to go this year due to family kind of situations, but I loved being a part of the TubeBuddy Facebook group message where at times it would go haywire and we would talk about some really hilarious things. And so for me, that was kind of my favorite part. And it really made me miss being there, the camaraderie of being a part of the team, the TubeBuddy team, being at VidCon, meeting all of the fans. You actually said there was a couple of people who came up to the booth and said, "Is Dusty here?" And that means a lot to me that you guys, would ask, "Hey, is Dusty here?" He does the podcast. And I love that. I love being a part of such a great group of community, the community members, and I love that. And so welcome to the stream. I know we see Lily, Black Sheep, Open
Paul
Helix,
Peck.
Paul Peck, Boys Creation, Sackboy, all of you guys. Thank you so much. We're already above 50 people in the stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. And so we're just going to dive right into it. We got a lot of information coming from I keep saying TubeBuddy because this is a TubeBuddy stream, but coming from VidCon, we got a lot of information as creators that's going to be important. So I've got a few different kind of bullet points that I want to go down with you, Andrew, and kind of talk about them one by one. So the first one is we have a YouTube creator blog kind of recapped this about a week ago when it kind of was released at TubeBuddy. But we're getting a lot of new features coming to monetization. So we're getting like a merch tab. We're also getting the ability to premiere like live streams and pre-recorded videos. And they're also, this is probably the more intriguing one to me, they're changing channel sponsorships to actually be channel memberships. So when people sponsor a channel now for $5 a month, it is no longer called sponsorships. It's actually called membership. So can you speak on those things kind of one by one and kind of let us know as an audience here, a community, what to expect from these?
Well, I mean, I think if you really take a look at what YouTube's been doing, their number one thing is they have been focusing on their competition. The acquisition of things like FameBit, which was announced at a few VidCons ago, things like that. They're trying to, if they can't fix it internally, they'll just purchase it, right? So we see that with FameBit, we see that with Teespring. And it makes sense because most people they have a Spreadshirt, they have other merch sites that's keeping them off the platform. So if YouTube as a company can provide all of these things natively, then they know people will stay on the platform. They earn more money and it eliminates things such as those third party sites. Now, what this means for us is this will provide better competition. This will provide reasons for those third party sites to get better. People look at competition and think it's a bad thing, but usually competition can be a good thing if they do it well. Like I'm interested to see how Patreon is going to react to the new membership thing, which I think is a better name for it than sponsorship.
Yeah, I do
And
too.
I also think the problem with sponsorship is what what does it mean to sponsor someone, right? But if I'm a member, if I get these things, like that's one thing that Patreon had a problem with at first is they're like, "Oh, you can sponsor me on Patreon." But people are like, "What does it mean to sponsor you?" But a membership, if we look at like larger creators, a lot of large creators call their Patreon a membership. So for YouTube just to cut the middleman, cut the fat and just allow it natively. For me as a creator, I don't have to promote to a third party thing. I can get people within what they're already using. It just seems better for creators. I do think the entry point is too high. 100,000 subscribers is pretty steep because we see a lot of channels with around that 10,000 mark where they have successful patrons and Patreons too. But YouTube's just like, eh. So I think the entry point may be too high, but I think it's a good step towards keeping things all in one place.
And so the entry point, as you mentioned, is 100,000 subscribers to actually get access to this new, what they're
Mhm.
calling channel memberships kind of feature. And so kind of maybe we can break that down a little bit. And channel memberships basically allows creators to have another way to monetize their content. It allows people to do a monthly subscription to them. That way you don't have to, basically, you don't have to rely on ad revenue or anything like that when it comes to YouTube. And when you go into your YouTube analytics, it's going to show up under a different category, so you know how much you're making from sponsorships. And there's actually some much smaller creators, Andrew, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's some much smaller creators, you know, just over 100,000 subscribers that are actually, this is changing their life because of the community that they have is so maybe not as large as others, but it's very much bought into what they're doing.
Absolutely, because if I love Creators Hub podcast and I want to help and I want to be someone who's a part of the extended community, I can get closer to, I can get more access, right? Then I'm going to do that. We see that with things like people love Game of Thrones, and a lot of people will just buy HBO Go just to watch that one thing.
Yeah, I did
So
that.
imagine if you have that power on a channel, right? Like, I love this one thing so much that I can become a part of a membership, that I can be part of something where I get a more immediate access. I get rewarded for my loyalty. People love that. I mean, that's why loyalty reward programs do well.
And
So
it
having that option within YouTube's great.
it gives us, Andrew, another way to reward these people as well, because like the way that YouTube has kind of the feature set has been rolled out, you're able to give them like custom emojis, you're able to give them custom badges when they're in your live stream, and so it makes them feel special, even though, you know, they are, you know, supporting you with some extra monetization, some extra money. But on the flip side of that, they're getting a little something in return, right? A little something, you know, a little something, a visual aesthetic for different live streams. They're also getting any type of built-in reward tiers that you put in, because when you set up the actual channel membership, you actually get to go in and say they're going to get access to a private Discord, or they're going to get access to videos sooner, or my podcast sooner. Whatever you're doing, you can give them a different reward tiers to kind of balance it out and give them a little something special. And it also helps people to promote why you would want to become you know, get a channel membership for your channel. I think that one thing that is probably not getting talked about much is that when people are putting real money, when they're putting $5 a month, one individual, unless obviously they're financially stable and have a lot of money or a lot of kind of disposable income, they're probably not going to do this for multiple channels. Is that, would you kind of agree with that assessment?
I think it kind of just depends, right? I think within brands, I think with Patreon, or Patreon, I should say, we see people willing to give to multiple creators, but one thing I would like to see is the option for us to set how much they can give, because the problem is only having one option. Well, people are like, "Whoa, that's a big commitment," but I'm like, "You can give $1 one time." Oh, that's great. That's easy. So I think having, and you could argue super chat is that, right? But I
Yeah.
think having the, like, well, then if you're going to make the argument that super chat is that, and that's only 1,000 subscribers needed, well, then maybe if I do a super chat, I'm included in the membership too, because then that gives an incentive to go live more, right?
And also, you have to think that, you know, there's a big difference in $1 and $5. You wouldn't think that might be
Mhm.
the difference of them being able to do that for 5 creators as opposed to just one. And I think
Mhm.
that's something that's probably a bigger deal. And I think as this continues to get bigger and they continue to tweak it, I think we will see that. And also, you know, you look at a platform like Twitch, Andrew, and they have like different tiered subs, where now they have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, where it's like, you know, $5 for tier 1, 15 for tier 2, 25 for tier 3. And so maybe you tier it differently, but then again, you kind of overcomplicate it. But I do agree with you. I think there needs to be a way to tweak your pledge amount. And I think that's the benefit of a platform like Patreon, is that I know for me in the podcast that I do, the Patreon has been great because people can give me like $1 or $2 and they still get some rewards. And for me, I'm still getting, you know, if you get 500 people to give you $1, $500. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but the same thing goes for $5. You get 500 people to give you $5. I mean, you're looking at some real money. You're getting into some real money. And so I love that. Now, let's kind of transition to the next one that we talked about. There is going to be a new merch tab. So an actual place on YouTube to actually have people come to your channel, click on that specific tab, and are they actually going to be able to buy that merchandise from within that tab, from within the YouTube site, or will they be taken to an external site to purchase the products?
So we've kind of seen this on some larger creators where they've been toying around with it, where they basically right under your description showcase where they can get the merch. So I would imagine it would be similar to that, where it's right there within the video player. Because a lot of times, if I can buy something immediately through YouTube, I'm probably gonna do it. If I can stay on the YouTube video, keep watching, and also think of like the benefits on a mobile. If like I just scroll down slightly and oh, there's the merch. I can buy it all while staying on the YouTube app. Perfect. So I think they've tried to do like that. They kind of showcased the scenario where it was that, but obviously it's so early it can change.
Yeah, I think that I got an email from YouTube saying that it had been rolled out for me and my channel, and I obviously I don't have much merch. I have a coffee mug, couple of T-shirts, things like that. And so, again, I want to talk about the overarching theme here of what I think is what YouTube's doing here, where they're pushing us. Like, we are seeing the biggest push we have ever seen from Google and YouTube to support the creators financially when it comes to adding the merch tab, adding channel memberships site wide. Again, if you reach a certain milestone, I understand that. And so, Andrew, for you as a creator, how does this make you feel? Like, how does it at least give you a little bit of a comfort inside that, hey, YouTube does care about me. They are trying to find different and unique ways to help me make money and make a living while I create content and do what I love doing.
Within reason, yes, I'd say obviously I appreciate the pushes. I think their idea of what a successful channel is on YouTube is skewed, right?
Right.
Because there are some channels with that mark of 100,000 that are averaging 4 views a video with 2 second watch time that can't sustain themselves. And then you see small channels that have thousands of hours of watch time and they're just kind of being thrown under the bus, right? I mean, I think if you want to do memberships, that should be maybe tied directly within the goal you set recently for monetization, right? Like you put it at 1,000 subscribers, and then there's the watch time requirement, right? I think that's a great entry point and it's not unreasonable, right? But to have it then, you have to do what you did there times that times 100 to even qualify. I think that's a lot, especially for a lot of creators, it can be a little much.
And I think what we're going to see, though, and I think you'd agree with me here, is we will see them tweak this system.
Oh, absolutely.
There's nothing that says they cannot in a few months reduce it. Maybe right now they're testing it, seeing how it rolls out to channels, and then a few months from now we hear them say, okay, if you have 25,000 subscribers and this amount of watch time, then they're going to reduce the requirements. That way they can roll it out kind of a staggered release, and that's something that we have seen YouTube do before.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it with super chats. Originally, it was
Excuse me.
100,000. Then it was down to 10,000. Now it's at 1,000. So, I mean, I definitely could see the membership following the same suit. I mean, again, if we look at community tab, that started at 100K, now it's at 10K. They said that it'll probably be dropped to 1K. So again, YouTube has done this in the past. I think the biggest problem YouTube has, and I think if you agree with me in the chat, please let me know. They're not the best at communicating.
No, they're
And I
not.
think that's a problem for a lot of companies. But one thing I think TubeBuddy does really well is we give ways for people to keep up with us. And like we could do that through the notification bell, our forums, emails, things like that. But if you don't give a way for communication, it causes chaos.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing you and I talked pre-show about is that the lack of communication, and YouTube just needs to do a better job of getting their actual point of what's going to happen to the creator, and not have it kind of us hear about it through third-party websites, through social media, or whatever it may be. And as a creator, I just want to know, man, I just want to know more about the algorithm. I want to know more about these things, these features that you're releasing. I think it's a crucial for us as creators to know what's going on the platform that we're using most, that we're relying on so much. And you and I talked about that as well, which kind of leads me to something that a little bit of miscommunication that may have happened this week, Andrew, and that's the article that you sent me, and I found out about this on Twitter, that YouTube is starting to tweak around and test with picking thumbnails, getting thumbnails for people who are not using custom thumbnails. So maybe speak on that a little bit and maybe clear the air as far as what you think is happening, and what we know to be true, and what really is false and kind of getting misconstrued all over the internet.
Oh, absolutely. So classic YouTube, best communication on the internet, jokes. But what they did is they tweeted out something that caused a lot of controversy, and they said that 0.3% of thumbnails they're testing. So 0.03% are going to be based on what YouTube recommends. And creators saw that stand alone and were terrified.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want, what I'm going to be doing is I will link that Twitter in the chat. So if you're watching this live or in the replay, you can check out the chat. So here's the tweet. And essentially what they're saying is that they're testing. But what they also didn't do is on their Creator Insiders channel, which is a great channel, they essentially explain that this will not replace the ability to upload custom thumbnails, but it's going to be more targeted towards creators that don't use that feature. So again, it seems worse than it is, but with context, it's like, oh, well, that makes sense. If those creators aren't already using that service, then if YouTube's trying to get them more views naturally by using their algorithms, then I'm going to say that makes sense. But YouTube didn't explain it that way, at least in that tweet. And all they had to do was link to that video. And I think they would have been a lot better.
Yeah, and Lily in the chat says hashtag leave my thumbs alone. I love that. I don't know why. That was just fantastic. That was
and
so
Midnight
good.
Madness says, couldn't YouTube just get volunteers to do their experiment? I would definitely say yeah, but
Sure.
Also you have to understand what happens if the experiment tanks a creator's channel, right?
Yes, that's true.
So experiments aren't always positive would be my counter to that. It's one of those, people wanted more transparency from YouTube. So they're trying.
Sure.
They're just not that great at it.
No, not. And I think they're getting. Hopefully, they're getting better. I think they're getting better.
They are. I mean, compared to just, oh, we did this.
Sure.
Like, you guys remember when demonetization was first announced and all we saw was the button without any context of what it does? Like, we've come a long
context.
way.
Yeah.
So I think
we've come a long way from that. I see E4 Electric in the chat. I actually had him on the podcast. If you want to listen to that interview, it happened yesterday. Alex is wonderful and such a great conversation. So if you're interested in that, just go check out the YouTube Creators Hub podcast for yesterday, actually, and such a great conversation. In closing on VidCon, almost said TubeBuddy again. In closing on VidCon, Andrew, just wrap it up, put a bow on it. What would what would you say the main theme coming out of VidCon is?
The main thing I would say coming out of VidCon is make sure you know what you're creating for. So many creators came up to the booth and their number one thing is, I've been doing this for X amount of years and I'm just not happy. And then we would have real conversations with these creators and I'm like, what are you in it for? Know your why. Because whether you're at this event, whether you are just your years into this, if you ever lose track of why you're creating content, what you're trying to give, people want value from YouTubers. We watch YouTube channels because they either give us value, either educationally, entertainment wise, or emotionally and like spiritually, right? So that's why we watch creators. And so many creators forget why they're creating and they just lose sight of that. And then they wonder why their audience can't relate to them anymore. So kind of, it's good to ground yourself. It's good to know what you're doing this for, but also don't be afraid to reach out to brands. Don't be afraid to just put yourself out there, because so many creators are genuinely afraid of that they're just putting themselves into a box that they can't get out of.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And knowing your why, like that's something that people get lost on a lot, as to you get a year into this thing and you have people tell you that, you can make money, you can get famous, you can do this, you can do that, but why are you doing it? Like, what's your purpose? Like, if you don't have a why for your videos, for your channel, for your business plan, whatever you're doing in life, knowing your why is extremely crucial and extremely, again, on point. And I love that kind of takeaway from VidCon. So great stuff. That was a great recap. Again, Andrew is one of those people on the internet, especially in the YouTube community, that I respect a lot. He is very, really. Not only is he a talented videographer and someone who has obviously accolades in that space, he also knows YouTube. He knows the platform, and he and I have already had great conversations before we even went on air and started the live stream. So if you would, Andrew, would you go ahead and link to that the question sheet, the form there, so people can go and submit their questions? We are actually going to take the rest of the time, and we're gonna field questions. We're gonna take Q&A, whether it's about the new features that we just talked about coming from YouTube, whether it's about a specific thing on YouTube. All I ask on every one of my streams is that if it's a question and your question is, how do I get more subs, How do I get more views? I will not answer that question. Again, there's too much good stuff on YouTube to help you with that. I want to know specifics. I want to know details, and I want some really thought out questions that we can actually have a debate on here and help people and actually bring value. Because again, the why of this stream is to help you guys, is to bring value to you guys and help you grow your channel, help you spread your message. That's the main goal of what we're doing. So we're going to go ahead and dive in now to a couple of the questions that that I see that we've received here. So I'm trying to make sure that I got the correct questions here. So the first question, it just has a channel URL there, so it doesn't actually have a name, but it says, what's the easiest way to create an outro or intro for your videos? Obviously, if you have skills in, After Effects or a software like that, you can do it yourself. But I assume you're asking, like, what's the easiest way to possibly outsource that? There's obviously sites like Upwork and Freelance.com and Fiverr, and they vary on their different prices. But you can have people who do this for a living design these for you at much, much cheaper of a price than you would if you paid someone who has a website. So there's different freelance websites out there. Andrew, what have you found to be the best way to kind of outsource or to get intro or outro designed?
Well, also, first of all, I agree with all the website you mentioned, and then I also tell people Google's a powerful tool. Like, you'd be
True.
surprised how much you can learn just through Google. And I always go for the side of, if you like work someone's done on those websites, so either Fiverr or whatever, get to know the person that created it, because in the future you're going to want the same kind of consistency. So
Hmm.
be friends with that person. Be like, hey, I love your work so much. I want a consistent look. Would you be willing to work with me one on one? And 9 out of 10 times, that person will say, absolutely.
Yeah.
So then you have your own personal person you can go to. So it's like, all right, I'm doing a live stream. I want new graphics. Time to give them an email. Because so many people get a one and done job. They can't build a relationship with a graphics designer, and they have no consistency.
Yeah, and I've actually just recently, I'm just now going through the process of getting a logo design for my personal brand for my business that I do videography and stuff like that, podcast editing for, and I'm doing it on a site called 99 Designs, and that's a great site for graphic design. It's a little more high dollar, a little more pricey, but what I've done is the guy who won the competition, who I'm getting to design my logo, I have his email now, like Andrew said, his personal information. And now if I need any like graphic work, I'm just going to go with him. Like once you find a good person, whether it's video editing, I have people who I work on their podcast. I've been their editor for their podcast for almost 4 years now. It's because when they found me and they know that I'm going to do quality work, I'm going to get it done in time. When on the internet, when you own a business, and Andrew, you can speak on this, it's so important to find those people, and when you do, man, you got to latch to those people.
Absolutely.
So absolutely couldn't agree more. Next question coming in from live. Don't forget, guys, you can click the link there in chat, and that's where I want you to kind of submit your question so we can kind of get a rein on the questions that are being asked. So live Curtan, I believe, it says, I recently changed my YouTube channel at 116,000 plus subscribers and changed topics, but no growth. Then I changed back my channel name to the first one, but now also no growth. What do I do? I think you are suffering from the symptoms of you're just bouncing around. You're bouncing around. Again, I think that just what we talked about just a few minutes ago, you need to know your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you creating the content? Because right now, like I renamed my YouTube channel about 8 months ago to my own personal name to get some personal branding from a really long name that had some numbers at the end of it. So I had a reason, and I knew once I changed, I was not going back. Like, you need to double down on what you're doing and then just kind of stick to it, because most people are so impatient, aren't they, Andrew? They want something right now.
Well, I mean, let's look at what Luxury Card Store says. And they say, if I'm subscribed to a channel and I've seen their intro more than 3 times, I generally want to skip it. I mean, that just kind of goes into it, right? Because they say it no longer has value for them. And that's a great point. Like, people are they want to know the value, they want to get to the content. Most people skip the vegetables and want to go right into the meat, right? So, unless you're a vegetarian, but that's obviously all those fun things. But
Or the
usually
dessert,
people want,
Andrew. Dessert.
you're
Straight
right.
to dessert.
But I think what we're seeing is people want the info. That's what they're there
They
for.
do.
That's what they want.
Yeah. They want the info, and they want to know if the reason they clicked on your video, whether it's to learn something or to be entertained, If you don't give that to them in the first few seconds, and back to the intro question, not to kind of skim over kind of the second question here, but back to the intro question, I have data. There is data analytics that show my older videos that have a long, like 12-second, really flashy, really cool looking intro. So many people, watch time wise, dropped off in those first few seconds. And the only explanation of that is just because they were tired of going through the intro. So again, if you are going to have an intro, I recommend you do, like, you come on the camera, you tell people what you're going to do, go into your bumper intro, make it 2, 3, 4 seconds, and then go. If that's how you want to go about doing it, do it that way. Don't necessarily put some really long put together intro, and that's a good point. So great questions, great questions. Now we're getting a bunch of questions in here.
And back to kind of live Kirtan's main point of changing your channel so frequently. If you were a channel, going back to what you said, I agree. You have to know your why and you have to stay true to the topic you're on. If I subscribe to you, Dusty, for podcast stuff, and out
Mhm.
of nowhere you're like, today I'm a ballerina channel, I'm like,
It's like, what are
well,
you
I
doing?
guess I'd be like, I guess this channel has no value to me anymore because I don't necessarily care about ballerina content. So
Right.
I'm going to unsubscribe. And that's how people react. Again, if you were watching Game of Thrones and in the middle of it, they're like, today we're going to teach you how to bake an egg. You would be like, what?
Yeah. No, I could not agree with that more. Good question though.
You'd be confused.
You would be. Another a question coming in from Alex E4 Electric. By the way, we were just speaking about him. What are your thoughts on Instagram TV? Granted that it still does not have any type of a search engine, and it is in the vertical form. Andrew and I literally were talking about this before we hit the stream button. Do you think we should take it seriously? I'm going to toss this to Andrew right quick because I think he has more experience and know-how in this space.
So when it comes to new platforms, I always say take it with a grain of salt. I'll obviously push there because a new platform gives you an opportunity to be successful there and then take it back to YouTube, right? Like let's say you can't do that well on YouTube, but you're blowing up on Instagram TV. Well, then if you ever want to launch a YouTube channel, you can then push that audience like, "Hey, you want to see what I'm doing in widescreen format?" Then you can be like, "Come over to my
Hmm.
YouTube channel. Come
Yeah.
see other stuff." I think with like Snapchat stories, Instagram stories, even the Facebook stories, and YouTube's even trying to do their own kind of story thing, I think what we're saying is people will watch content vertically. It's just how much are they consuming is what I want to know, right?
Right.
Because I was watching at VidCon, I was telling Dusty this off air. I was watching kids who are the primary audience of Instagram, and they just swept through the content on IGTV because where it shows currently is very similar to stories, and people weren't necessarily happy about that. That'll change over time. But I think it's interesting that they care a little more on views right now because YouTube went from views to watch time because of that reason. Because they want people watching and not just going, eh. Because as a content creator, how would you feel if you put hours and hours of work? Someone's on their phone, they're like,
Wipe through.
eh. So I think what we'll see as it develops is how it's better, but I would definitely say give it a shot. You never know if that's gonna be where you make it big. You never know.
And
And by
so,
closing off the opportunity, it's just
and
silly.
Andrew, let me ask you this. Something I thought is kind of what you talked about there at the top of that answer is that you could kind of use the Instagram TV stuff, Alex, for like a behind the scenes look
Absolutely.
of what you're doing. Like, oh, I'm working on this Photoshop tutorial today, guys. Here's my face. Here's my screen. You know, a little bit more about kind of a little. People love that kind of behind the closed door, right? Of a creators. Why do you think so many people love office tour videos on YouTube, and they love these just in depth things of behind the scenes of what people are doing? And I think that if you the short form content that you're going to swipe through on the Instagram TV app is going to be different. And I think just as we talked about YouTube, it's going to evolve. They're going to have a search feature. They may even eventually change over to where you can flip the thing and not have vertical video. And so, again, I'm not too sold on it just yet, Alex, but that doesn't mean it's not viable, that it's not usable.
Mhm.
And Andrew, you can speak on this too. Not everything out there, sometimes there's so much noise out there, is for everyone. You don't have to do everything that's out there. I mean, you can literally focus in on what you're good at and go from there. So, great question though, Alex. I think it's going to be fun to watch
Yes, and he
what
said, "So
happens.
how is it different from stories then?" That's the question I think everyone's trying to figure out,
I
right?
don't know the answer to that.
And I think it's interesting that they launched a standalone app too. So I think their main, again, it's a little confusing, right? If you're gonna call it Instagram TV and then release a standalone app, it's like, well, which one do you want me on? I think
Right.
they're confused on it. I think it's cool. I think we'll see.
I don't know. We'll see, man. It's going to be interesting. A lot of other players are coming to the field. I love it though. I love it. Competition is always good. Always. You guys remember that. You always want there to be competition with the space that you're in because that means people care. This question coming in from the Kircher Bunch. I believe I said that correctly. I hope I did. Is it better to have specific long keywords with score of 25 that says we are showing up in the top 20, or a keyword with high search and low competition, but we are not showing? So this is.
So you're
Go ahead, Andrew.
so essentially you're asking me, is it better to you want to show up in search first and foremost? That's how people are going to find you, right? So if you're not showing up, that could essentially just mean a multitude of factors. It could be it's a new video. It could be that you're not going to be able to compete with the amount of saturation in the field. Ultimately, you want to be showing up in search, right? If you're not showing, then you have the chance to, but I rather have a guaranteed showing up in search than a possibility of showing up in search.
Yeah, I think that's. People ask me all the time. I'm just going to call you K Bunch because I don't want to mispronounce your first name there. I
Yeah,
apologize.
I was looking at that too.
I was like, man, I know I said that wrong. I do apologize. That's the beauty of live streaming is that you never quite know for maybe a minute later if you said it appropriately. But the way that I look at keywords is that you think in your mind, what would that person be searching for that would lead to this? Like I did a video the other day. It was a tutorial on how to do something on Discord. And I was thinking that if I had this problem, what would be the phrase or phrases that I would be typing into Google or YouTube to find the answer to this question? That's where my head is in the beginning. And then once you kind of get those questions, those phrases, those keywords, you put those in an Evernote notebook or a notepad, whatever, you then go and you see where they're ranking. You kind of see the different ranks like that. I would rather have the opportunity to rank even if it's a crowded or uncrowded space. And so I think it's a really good question. And keywords are, again, they're tricky for new creators because they don't understand that they have such a big impact on possibly where you rank and where you show up. So great question. Great question. Next question coming in from Izog Adventure. Finding the right people to collaborate with. I think it is a great way to reach a wider audience. So I assume you're asking me what are better ways to find people to collaborate with maybe, and we can speak on that. Look at what Andrew and I are doing right now. We are collaborating. Collaboration. Go ahead.
Which is the end of our month of collaborations. Like
It is.
this entire month on TubeBuddy, it's been all about collaborating, right? So when it comes to collaborations, most people don't know. Like if I went up to you and say, let's collab, and you're like, oh, I don't know what we should do. Have something you want to do with a creator. I saw that so frequently at VidCon, kind of keeping it to what we learned at VidCon. This is a great point. People would go up to like Nick or they go up to D and they're like, we should collab. And they're like, okay, great. What do you want to do?
Oh, I don't know.
And then it's like, it's that scene, I didn't think I'd get this far. You always need a plan
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that's something you need to be aware of. You need to know what do you want to do. If you know that, then great. That's when you reach out.
Yeah, I've always had it planned, Andrew. If I ever meet Harrison Ford, I'm going to ask him about a specific scene in the Star Wars original trilogy about when they're locked in the trash compactor and it's closing in on them. I'm going to ask him just specific. I've done this in my mind, Andrew, because I want a conversation starter, and I think that one's a good one. Always be prepared, people. That's the point of that story. You want preparation, so be prepared. If you want to collaborate with somebody, know why you do. And also, Andrew, here's the deal. You can't just come up and say, oh, Andrew, I want to collaborate with you. You also need to let them know, here's why I think it's going to be valuable for both of us. Like, Andrew,
Yes.
I think your audience merges with my audience at this point. You see, you got to show them the value. I mean, at VidCon, it's different because you're there, you're live in person. People more than likely aren't going to tell you no unless they just really have to go somewhere.
Mhm. And that's a great opportunity. But another place you can go is there's Discord servers, there's Facebook groups. TubeBuddy has a forum where we have lots of collaboration. So a lot of times people are like, I'm just going to try on YouTube comments. And I'm like, that's not a viable way.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have a plan.
And
So ultimately, That's what I'd say.
I see a lot of talk about Discord in chat. Andrew and I are using Discord right now. Again, there's pros and cons of using Discord. Discord is, I believe, the future of. It's like, I don't know if you guys remember, like back in the day when the internet was first coming up, and the way that we all chatted was using AIM from AOL, the instant messenger. It's kind of like the evolution of that, and the way that Discord continues to update it and give us new features of having different groups of people in specific chat rooms to chat and to talk, and to actually have video chat like what we're doing now, being able to do audio calls for podcasters. And so there are so many different things that you can do, and so I love that. Next question coming in from Incredible Techniques. Great name, by the way. Does YouTube penalize me for using a lower third in my videos that show my blog address? I'm getting different answers on this, so wanted your opinion. No, they're not.
The only time, welcome Evan Carmichael. The only time they would really kind of penalize you is if you're driving people off site. And that's what YouTube says. They want to keep people on YouTube, right? So the only thing, again, it's such a small probability, it's not even worth bringing up. The thing is, it's not going to hurt you.
Yeah, no, it's not going to hurt you. So that's a simple answer. Don't worry about it. Put your link in there. It's always a good thing to link back.
Now, if YouTube ever changes this.
Sure. Sure. What's up, Evan? Welcome to the stream, Evan. Thank you for stopping by. Evan has some great content, guys. If you don't or haven't heard of Evan, definitely go check him out. Super smart person and great creator. Next question coming in. Let's see here. Next question coming in from.
If you want to ask questions, putting link in the chat.
The Ultimate Destroyer. What are your tips on YouTube channels that do try new content but aren't growing that much? Andrew, what do you think about that?
Well, it depends. How consistent are you with the new content? Is it just a one-shoot video? Is it a strategy? Is it something like that? It's stuff to consider. Also, Evan Carmichael says, when is statistical significance on the A/B testing going to go live? It's in beta. Have you been messaging Phil? But going back to the question at hand, I would say that it's important that you keep kind of a focus, right? So if you're trying like one offshoot of new content, then it's not enough data to see if it's successful or not. What are your thoughts, Dusty?
So when it comes to new content, I think that on a channel, what I like to do is try new series or new shows, because you want to give it enough historical data to go back and look and see if it's actually important, right? Like, you're not going to be able to tell if something new is working from just one video or one post or whatever it may be. So you really need to figure out if the new content is the route you want to go. And again, if it's completely different than what you're doing, I'm not even saying you need to do it in the first place. So again, be careful, tread carefully there. But really great question. Evan keeps talking about the A/B testing. I couldn't agree more. The hidden secret of TubeBuddy, they don't talk about it enough. I agree. We should talk about it more. I think once the statistical data stuff starts happening, I was talking about this with Alex on the podcast yesterday. When it comes to thumbnails, and thumbnails right now, Evan, are all the rage, right? Thumbnails are, everyone's talking about that 0.03%, right? That YouTube is apparently changing. But when it comes to A/B testing thumbnails, it's not about changing what I found, the actual thumbnail as a whole. It's about changing different bits and pieces from the thumbnail. And so maybe it's a different color. Maybe it's a different font. Maybe it's a different picture of yourself or the topic that you're using. If you A/B test these different things, it's a beautiful thing to get on there. And I'm an analytics nerd. I love spreadsheets, things like that. So again, don't judge me for that. But being able to go and look at that and say, oh, so this color for some reason does better than this color, or this image works better than this image, it will blow your mind. A/B testing is amazing.
It also gives you the opportunity to run on facts, not feelings. I see a lot of people get into this idea that, oh no, if a YouTube expert tells me they like it, it'll do well. I'm sorry, but my opinion is never going to be as strong as your fact, right? My thought will never be as strong as an actual statistical data point. So I see this a lot in Facebook groups. People are like, which thumbnail would you click? I'm like, it doesn't matter what I think. What does your audience think? That's the more important metric you need to go after.
And I think in closing on this topic, there is no rhyme or reason as to why some people click on thumbnails. It's all visual. And if
Mhm.
you think that stuff doesn't make a difference, if you think that the colors that you use, the font that you use, the image that you use doesn't trigger someone to click on your thumbnail or to click on your video, you're crazy, because it does. I had a video, it
Mhm.
was a tutorial from way back when that I did on iTunes. And it was back when iTunes was actually a little bit usable. And I had my old thumbnail on it, and it was working pretty good. I had a few 100,000 views, whatever. This was a 2 or 3 year old video. I did some A/B testing. I changed the thumbnail and I put a different icon, a new iTunes icon on it. The percentage of views, I mean, the graph was like this. I changed the thumbnail like this. It's amazing to me. There's no rhyme or reason why us as humans click things that we do, or why we watch this, or why we do this. But there's something visual that happens, and so it's fantastic. So, Evan, man, thanks for stopping by. Really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm used to just hearing him on the YouTube videos. Keep it up, Dusty. Thanks, Evan. I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. How would you close this conversation about A/B testing? I know, Andrew, I know you're a fan. So what would you say?
I would say it is worth using. If you've never used it, it is a legend level TubeBuddy feature. The only reason for that is just the sheer amount of data we have to collect and do. So it is worth using. If you've never tried it, you can use Dusty's Buddy. Isn't that your code?
I'm working on getting it changed, but you can look at the scrolling text there is tubebuddy.com/techguru. I want it to be Dusty's Buddy because I feel like that would just be way better than what I have, and so eventually,
We'll
hopefully, it
get
will
that
be.
done. We'll get that done by the end. Go ahead. Be the first person to use Dusty's Buddy. Don't
That's
worry. We'll
right.
get that.
Oh man, TubeBuddy, man, what a tool.
Elevation Velocity. Notice how Discord has integrated their software with a lot of fringe tech companies. And there's been a huge discussion within chat on Discord. So I wanted to know, Dusty, you have a Discord. What are your thoughts on it?
Mhm.
Do you think it, like, we talked briefly about it, but do you think that it has long staying power in building a community? Because I'm a huge community guy. I built the community here too, buddy, and it is something we toy around with. So I want your opinion as someone who's using it.
And so I changed over to my Discord, so people are going to actually be able to see this as I'm talking about this, because I really want people to understand the kind of what Discord can be and what it can do. When you're talking about Discord, you look at all these people over here on the right-hand side that are part of my Discord now. And again, I kind of link this behind a Patreon because I feel like if someone puts their money where their mouth is. And so when it comes to Discord, I think of it and I look of it as a way of bringing like-minded people together into a community. And Discord has such amazing tools. They have the ability to do voice chats. They have the ability to have voice channels that you can bring people in and out of. They have the ability to link to certain things, to actually bring people in behind a gate. There's so many features that Discord has. It's not just a gaming platform anymore. It has actually gone beyond that to be a community builder. So it's a community building tool. And as you can see here, as I scroll through, I've got different channels in my Discord that is, YouTube goals, people to put their goals. I have one where people can share their YouTube channel right here. I have one for people to suggest gear for their recent uploads. And obviously, as you can see here, people are using this every single day. And so 24/7 people are always in here. And I think Discord is such a big deal. And I think that if you're not using it, I think that you're missing out. So I think that if you're not familiar, and I get tired of people I hear this a lot, Andrew, it's for the kids. It's for the people who are video game people. It's not for the normal business folk. You would be surprised at the amount of people that I've had on the podcast. I get them to download Discord to come on the podcast. It blows their mind. They email me 2 weeks later and say, Dusty, this Discord thing is a game changer. And it really is. It's a game changer. So if you haven't already, Discord, you can pay me later.
Well, that excuse is for the kids is I mean, look at YouTube. People are like, the kids are just uploading the videos online. Apparently, they're also old and from New York. But I mean, that's what people said about YouTube at first.
Right.
And I think as we learned is never count anything out.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's one of those things to where I hope you guys can check it out if you haven't already. A question coming in from Vlogs and Crafts by Christine.
Love that name.
I do too. Why does my sub count go up only to go straight back down again? And if you say it's due to those who subscribe do not have an active YouTube channel, then how am I ever going to grow my channel and increase my subscriber base? Andrew, thoughts?
So they're basically asking, why is my subscriber count fluctuating?
It's kind of yo-yoing, yes.
Yeah. So the thing is are you bringing the value they subscribed for, right? Are you being consistent? A lot of times channels will create content that isn't around them. Look at the most successful channels, right? We look at Nick Nimmin. Let's look at Brian G. Johnson, Owen Video. You fall in love with them, the content producers. It's called YouTube, right? So my question is, so I'm assuming Christine, because vlog and crafts by Christine just makes sense. So Christine, are people falling in love with you
Mm,
or just your content? Because if
sure.
they fall in love with you, they're gonna come back every time. But if they just like one piece of content, then that could be why they're not coming back. A lot of times channels will build an entire identity around one thing and they can never sustain that one thing. So I think you should definitely consider maybe seeing why people are subscribing to your channel, and then are you living up to the reason they subscribed? By the way, all of this is through analytics, and if you want an easier way to view it, you can use TubeBuddy's health report. It's right from the drop down menu.
Yep, and I'm not going to say anything else there. I think Andrew did a really good job there. That is really good points. Question from Hacker Solution. Today is the 28th of June, and channels with less subscribers than me are monetized, but not me. Please tell me what to do. Again, YouTube has set out pretty much, I mean, pretty clear guidelines as to what you need to have to be able to be monetized and join the partner program. I actually did a video a few months back after all this came down the pipeline, showing you once you reach those milestones of 1,000 subs, 4,000 hours of watch time in a year, how to actually go about getting monetized. If that's something you're interested in, just YouTube it, Google it. You can find out how to apply for it. It's very simple.
Absolutely.
Good question though.
Another thing is YouTube is basically also said that they're still pushing through people who have hit the requirements. So I mean, that's still
It may
being
take
like,
time.
yeah, I mean, there's billions of content creators. Like, I would say, I understand the struggle. So I would say just be as patient as can be. And if you're really worried about, like monetization and things like that, there's affiliate programs, there's other ways to make money. Don't rely solely on Google AdSense because it's just not that sustainable.
No, it's not sustainable and it's pennies. It's not, I mean, it's chicken feed, as my grandmother would say here in the South. Let's see here. Rafai Stronger says, "This is my birthday, guys." Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. That's awesome. Question from Deltran Does Games. My channel has consistently produced 2 to 4 videos a week, but recently the channel growth dropped off completely, and my videos are getting about half the views they used to. What kind of data should I look at first to figure out what has happened?
So if you're going to be taking a look at data, I would say take a look at your watch time. I would take a look at, are these people who are watching you subscribers or not subscribers? Because a lot of channels have more not subscribers than subscribers. So then if you know that data, are your subscribers at least watching the new content, right? Because you say Deltron Does Games, my question is, did you change the game you're doing? Like you can have consistently produced videos, but are they the same game, right? If you change the game, then maybe the people who liked you for one game aren't liking you for this. And if it is the same game, but it's like a new game in the franchise, maybe not.
Yeah. And also where people are dropping off too. Like I mentioned earlier
Mhm.
about your intro. My intro was too long. People are dropping off at the beginning. Are you doing anything different? You said, but recently the channel growth dropped off completely. What are you doing differently? That's what I would look at. Like, what am I doing different now than I was doing then? And if the answer to that is nothing, maybe it's an algorithm change. Maybe it's this or that. But you don't want to use any of that for excuses. You want to keep producing content, make it valuable content. And if you do that, the people will come. So
Yes. I also want to answer a question quickly while you're looking at the next question because I think we have.
go right ahead.
And the Cookie Couture channel says, I've seen some channels that have monetized videos, but they don't even have 1,000 subscribers. Why is that? So they may not be monetized. YouTube's still going to run ads. So just because you see an ad or you see something like that doesn't mean it's the creator getting the money.
Yeah, absolutely. People get confused on that a lot, to be honest with you. The next question is kind of long, but it's actually a in-depth, thought-out question. So I kind of want to read a little bit of it. I'll condense it.
Oh, wow.
I experienced my first spike on a video I posted on June 16th. I went into my analytics to try and figure out what it was that I did to make it take off. Do you have any thoughts as to why? So let's talk about that for a minute. Like, I love that. I love video spikes. I love the nerdiness behind what may have happened. Here's a couple of examples that I found in the content that I create. So I do tutorials, educational content. And I'll tell you a story about one. I had a video that I had done about how to use Google Forms, or like the back end of like Google. I guess you would call it Google. I don't know, really. Google One is what they call it now. But basically, all of a sudden, there was like this huge spike. And so I went into the analytics, and if you didn't know you could do this, and Andrew, hopefully, I think you've probably used this before too, you can see kind of the direct sources that are sending
Mhm.
traffic to your video. And so I went into those sources, and obviously you had search related videos, things like that. It was a college website, a pretty big college, actually. I'm not going to say the name of the college because I don't want to promote any college or whatever, but it was the name of a college website. And so I emailed the contact person on that specific URL that I went to on the college webpage. And the professor actually emailed me back and said, "Hey, I tried to email you, but I'm actually using your video for curriculum in my classroom now." And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. And so we actually chatted about a few different things. So it may just be that someone's linking to your video that wasn't before. Or it may be that a new video that's getting popular, your video showing up in suggested beside that video. So it could be a number of things. Andrew, what do you think it could be?
So I think that there's a lot of reasons why a video can do well. Also, kind of looking at what you said, you've shared it on a lot of groups as well. You never know who's sharing your content. I think you using the classroom example is a great, kind of segue here. You're the Sometimes the analytics doesn't give us a breakdown. They'll just say browser features or other, and that's probably the most frustrating part as a creator. What does other really mean? I would say really kind of study what that video did. Study, where did your viewers come from? Was it that subscriber base? Was it the not subscriber base? And then I want to see, how did it convert? Did it convert those not subscribers to subscribers? Because if it did, then that's a piece of content you should probably make more of. And you even said it wasn't that great of a video compared to my best work. So what that means is, if that video you felt wasn't your best, imagine if you made that kind of video your best work. That's super powerful. So I would say you need to kind of just keep studying that video, because again, I don't have enough data, and you don't either, to know exactly what's changed.
Yeah, before I get to the final question, because we're getting kind of low on time here. Wow, what a stream. This has gone by super fast, Andrew. I don't know if you feel the same way, but it's gone by so fast. I want to answer a quick question in chat there from Pixium Perfect. It says, how many ads do you prefer in a 20-minute video? And sometimes some of my audience complain about too many ads. What are your thoughts? I kind of want to bounce that off Andrew. I kind of know I've recently done some longer videos, upwards of 30 and 40 minutes, full instruction on how to use a certain piece of software. And so I kind of had to bounce that idea off of my team and my audience as well. So Andrew, what are your thoughts for someone who is monetized in partners as far as putting in ad breaks in between a video?
Too many ads killed TV. Don't let it kill your channel. Why do people not watch TV? It's because they're in a in a 30-minute show, there are 8 minutes of ads. That's too many, right?
Yeah.
So people don't want advertisements. Believe it or not, YouTube, people used to say subscribe, it's free, because people were so used to paying for subscriptions, right? So let's really take a look at this. I would say two ads, maybe three. You can get away with usually three. That's what I've seen. Because if I watch a 20-minute video and there's 8 minutes of ads, I'm not going to watch it,
hmm
because that to me looks like that person, or it's going to encourage me to get ad block, which you don't want, because then that person who may have been watching your content just completely stop giving anyone on the platform ads,
And I
right?
get,
So you want, go ahead.
no, I was just going to kind of agree with what you said there. You have to think of how you consume content. Like,
Would you watch that many ads?
right. Like what would you be okay with? So you're asking me a 20-minute video. I mean, 20 minutes isn't as long as you think it is. So if you're putting
Hmm.
if they got a pre-roll and a post-roll, and then you're putting something at 10 minutes, you're looking at watching a pre-roll, and then you're looking at having a and I get the thought of I'm a business person. I own my own business, and so if I can put an ad in there where possibly I can make money, people won't tell you this type of stuff, but I'm going to tell it to you because I own my own business and I want to make as much money as I can, as I think we all do. But you've got to think of why was TiVo and all of these the companies so big? Because people realistically don't want to watch the ads unless the ads are really good, and that's a completely different topic for another day.
Hmm.
Great question though.
And then the final one we're here. Do you think that product placement would be a more effective form of advertisement? Depends. Does that product give your audience value, right?
Yeah.
Because like in the middle of this stream, Dusty's like, "This has been a great educational stream. You know what makes me feel good? Beeswax. Get your own version of beeswax." I'd be like, "Dusty, what? What are you doing?" but it wouldn't make sense, right? But if I'm
Right.
like, here at TubeBuddy, we have our obviously this isn't real, but like let's say we had our own version of the Creator Academy where if you want to learn more on YouTube, you can just sign up to this and learn, right?
Hmm.
Well, then all of a sudden that's a way better product placement that fits to the brand.
Right.
So I think it all depends on what you're advertising.
I feel like I could sell beeswax, by the way.
Oh, by the way, yeah, probably. I'd be like, man, that beeswax, it just sounds so great.
Oh, that's amazing. Brickstar says SpongeBob episode is 11 minutes, no ads during. SpongeBob, man, that's some pretty high standard to set there. Last one coming in from Diaz Media. Can TubeBuddy post the video to Facebook to play on Facebook itself? Do I have to go for a paid version? And I have a paid mobile version. Can we do it on the mobile version? A lot's going on there, Andrew. Clear up.
Publish to Facebook is a feature. It requires a star level license. And so answer the question, yes, you can. You can do it on the upload screen. You just hit on the TubeBuddy drop-down menu, publish to Facebook. It is a paid version, star. But if you use the promo code on the stream, it's not as expensive. If you go for yearly as well, it's not as expensive. So yes, it is a paid feature, but also it is very usable.
It is very usable. And also the difference now than it was a few months ago because of the way the API and certain stuff works is you actually have to upload the video. You have to find the file on your computer, do it that way. Whereas used to, TubeBuddy could do it. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. TubeBuddy could do it directly from the upload to YouTube, right?
Used to, yes, but we had to change it.
Yep, absolutely. Whoa, what a stream, man. We are 60 minutes in now. This has been so fun. Andrew, if you want to find more about what Andrew has going on the interwebs, I put his link there in the scrolling text below us. But Andrew, let the folks know where they can find you all over the interwebs.
So you can find me here at TubeBuddy. I do videos every Monday. So if you want to watch more on how to learn and grow using TubeBuddy every Monday. I'm also in the stream every Wednesday, but I have a personal channel, youtube.com/Andrew K. will be put in the chat now.
Yep. I want to point you guys over to the podcast I do called YouTube Creators Hub. It's an interview-based show where I interview YouTubers like yourself and have them on the show. I also do one for TubeBuddy. Actually, episode 99 airs tomorrow, and then episode 100 is next week. And man, I can't believe I've done 100 of those. Couple of years worth of podcasts, and we're just getting started, man. The podcast is just really growing, and I love doing what I'm doing. You can find me on YouTube, just Dusty Porter. Here every last Wednesday of the month. Today's Thursday because I had some stuff going on yesterday, but really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thank you guys so much. We're going to go ahead and end the stream now, but you guys have been absolutely amazing. Don't forget to, if you haven't already, download TubeBuddy. Use my link. It really does help me out. I really think you guys will not regret it if you do that, and we will talk to you guys the next